You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts.
Right, Chris.
Alrighty, good afternoon, good evening, good day, good morning, good night, goodbye, hello, wherever you are in the world, whatever time zone you are living in. And you could be somewhere completely different to your time zone, as my guest is today. But this is LTID TV from Leicester Till I Die. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome along. The comment section is open. Feel free to get it in. All we ask is that you keep it respectful. And if you're joining us via our LinkedIn channel, we have to keep it posh for LinkedIn because it's professional. And you know me, I am nothing if not professional. Or if you're watching by Twitch, I do. Welcome along. How you doing, lads? And if you're listening via your favourite podcast platform, thank you very much. And if you're not watching it live on YouTube and you're watching it on catch-up, add comments below. We will always read them. Just a very much quick hellos. Jamie Vardy is in. Hi, Jamie. How you doing? I've just realised then that I need to do something that I haven't done, and that is put that there, which moves everything up. There we go. And Nate is in. Good morning to you, Nate, because, of course, you're where Kate has just been, a good old US of A. Ben is in. Hi, Chris and fans. About the Ndidi thing, I'm in two minds because much does he want. Well, turn down. Where are we? Interest. Well, we'll be talking about Ndidi in a bit. Will we? Yes, indeedy. Thank you. I'm here all week. This is why Kate's come back for my jokes. You know, nothing else. Highfield is in. Hello, Highfields. So we'll be talking about our new signing, Ndidi extending it, who we've been linked with, who might be going, and of course we will then also at the end of the show be looking at our new sponsors. Your feelings about that? It's created quite a stir. Union FS, they're not very happy. Are they getting too big for their boots? I like Union FS. I think they do an absolutely fantastic job. But there's a lot of people now complaining about them complaining. Oh, it's like an episode of EastEnders following Leicester City, isn't it? But this is the Let's Talk Leicester Extra. And I'm pleased to say Kate is with us. We'll bring her in straight after this. Oh, there she is. I knew she was somewhere hiding. Kate, hello. Welcome home.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Welcome home. Peter than Lee, 1970s classic. And yes, everybody. Yeah, thank you very much. And before anybody says yes, that does say Johnny on her chest. Yes, you gotta. She wears that on a Friday night when she's hanging outside. Johnny Cash, that's what they call it. She actually, no, in fairness to Kate, one day she did come back. She'd been out all night and she came back with 52 quid. And I said, who gave you 2 bloody quid? She said, they all did. Thank you. Have you missed me?
Do I have to answer that right away?
Have a think about it. Answers on a postcard.
Okay.
That's the best way to do it. But yeah, it's very much a catch-up show today because the Euros have taken its toll. I was that bad. I had to do a COVID test the other day, so I've not been doing all the watch-alongs for the Euros, etc. First of all, before we get on to Leicester, how excited are you about England being in the final?
Yeah, I mean, the penalty shootouts are starting to go well, aren't they? It's a little bit it's unknown territory for us.
Well,
so yeah, I'm excited.
That's one thing he's got right, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is one thing he's got right for sure. I was so chuffed for Ollie Watkins in the weeks. I think he's a great player, and it shows what happens when you give people in form a chance. And yeah, it's exciting for tomorrow. I hope that he makes some changes potentially. I think we could do with some changes up front for the starting 11. I think Kane, but I don't know whether he'll have the guts to do that. But yeah, it's exciting. Spain are probably the best team.
In fairness, Kate, we said that we wouldn't have the guts just to drop Kane at all, and he has done in 2 games.
Yeah, but he's not started him, has he? I think that's a bit of a different ball game. But yeah, he's not. Even Alan Shearer said in commentary on a few games, like he's just not running into the positions where Saka would expect him to be. Like Saka's putting a load of these crosses in across the box and he's just not there on the end of it. So yeah, it's exciting. Spain are going to be the most dynamic team I think will have played. They're going to play some exciting stuff, I think, and they're going to threaten us. They're probably the most attacking team in the tournament, aren't they? Yes. So it's going to be an unusual one. It's probably going to be a really cagey first half, and I just don't want it to go to penalties.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
No, but then again, I wouldn't mind because we're good at it now. So, we'll see. We will see. Look, we're in the final. Let's just rejoice, shall we? Let's do we talk Leicester?
Yeah, man.
Why not? Indeed. Well, lots has been happening whilst you've been away. I think you should go away again. I mean, first of all, and I was reading this earlier on today. Actually, last season we did our business early, and this season we seem to be doing it early again. You know, we sold KDH and we were saying, no, he wouldn't go, he wants to stay. And I was saying, well, yes, he does want to stay, but, you know, at the end of the day, you know, if needs but must, you know, needs a need, he has to. And he did. But we are making signings early.
Yeah, it's a good thing to see, really. So it seems to suggest that maybe the exits are potentially done. There's not been any rumours of any more sales as yet. And I think having that uniform year end of 30th of June, I think there's a lot of activity going on in this early part of July, despite there being a European tournament and obviously the Copa America as well. So there's quite a lot of early transfer business going on. And I think that's going to be a bit of a theme going forward with these PSR rules, really, in that the year end is over and you can go again, you know, and hopefully spend early and recoup again later on in the year to make sure you stay in line with PSR. So it's going to be it's exciting, and it's been some surprise positions as well, hasn't it, that we may not have foreseen a bit with the likes of this Okoli coming on as a centre half. So
I mean, I've been surprised, and I did have let's just say disagreement with Brad about one of the elder statesmen that we brought in. But it's interesting to see because, like with Maddison and with Barnes last season, we sold them early so that we knew where we stood. We'd got the money in and we could go forward. KDH, we know it was a PSR issue, and that's why he went, you know, had to go by the end of June, although that was a Sunday, so we were allowed into July. It's interesting because we've sold him for 30 million over 6 years. So for Chelsea, that gets counted as 5 million a year for their PSR. We bought what's he called? I can't even remember his name now.
Bobby.
Bob, no, Golding.
Golding, yeah.
Someone, yeah. We bought him, and he was 5 million allegedly. And because he's come through their youth system, they get all that in one go against their
Right, yeah, okay.
So basically, they've got a year free on PSR with KDH.
So how come we didn't get it all in one go because KDH was a product of our academy?
We probably would. That's why we sold him. Yeah.
See, yeah.
So we as the incoming club, because we were sort of 40 odd million down or whatever. We got 10 for Enzo, and we got 30 for KDH. So that was the 40. So that really helped us with that, which was why we were happy to do deals as quickly as we could. But it's interesting to say, because people say, "Oh, how can they get away with it?" Well, that's how they get away with it. And if you look, the Premier League aren't happy, but there's a lot of movement of the youth players between different clubs in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And you can now know why. But it's Leicester City. I think being sensible, and I think it's a good thing what we're doing.
Yeah, it's a very sensible thing. I mean, to be honest, there's been a few balls dropped, hasn't there? But overall, we kind of know what we're doing. We have always tried to. Yours haven't yet, Chris. Don't worry.
No, I'm still waiting.
But overall, we've always done quite solid business. We've made a couple of screw ups, which have really cost us a lot of money in recent years, which is where we now find ourselves. But we do try and drive a hard bargain, particularly as a selling club. So it's encouraging to see, and I know we'll move on to the Wilf situation and maybe the reasons behind why he stayed. But I do think that because these rules are now embedded more into clubs and they're seeing punishments come through, we're kind of seeing a more level playing field come about a bit. And I think particularly in wages. So that might be why players are maybe a bit, with trepidation whether they move clubs or not. Because if the wages are similar and Wilf knows he's going to get game time here, then it's all about how much football you want to play. Whereas a Danny Drinkwater situation, it probably didn't come into his head that much when you're probably having your wages quadrupled or more. It's a different proposition, isn't it? So with Wilf, we'll come on to it, but it's PSR kind of levelling out some things, I think, and making teams more cautious and not so blasé with their spending.
Brad says there, hi, Kate and Chris. Happy belated birthday, Kate. Have I missed this?
You. My birthday was on Thursday.
I don't think I saw it. It didn't pop up on Facebook. So I do apologise. In fact,
it's quite all right.
Here we go. I've got to just play this then, haven't I?
Have a happy birthday from us to you.
Thanks. Thought you might have got Elton John in or Stevie Wonder or something, but that'll do for now.
Well, I had booked Adele.
She's busy, isn't she? At some wedding I've read in the news somewhere.
Probably. She was rolling in the deep, so she couldn't make it.
Very good.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'll go sit in the corner. Right. But look, we have, and yes, I did fall out with Brad about Bobby, but he said he's going to sing about Kavura Reid the way I do about Vestergaard. I won't be about Vestergaard this season. It's a different season, and we're kind of stuck with him. But anyway, we've been there, seen that, done that conversation. So let's have a look at this gentleman here. Your thoughts on his signing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite excited by it, really. I mean, he's an Atalanta graduate, isn't he? So, which is a pretty good thoroughbred, I think, in terms of that kind of thing. What is he? Is he 19, something like that? 21 or something? He's very young.
23.
Oh, 23, sorry. So he's very young. He's played a lot of football last year, albeit the team he played for got relegated. But from what I've read about him, he sounds like he's quite dynamic. He sounds like he's got a bit of pace. He sounds like he's got really good distribution, like Yannick. Not afraid. I think he was like one of the most highest tackles in numbers and interceptions. So that's really encouraging. And it sounds like he likes to push out with the ball, which I know we used to love seeing when Harry Maguire used to do that for us when he takes it on a run, which means that he's okay on the ball, which is what we're all about at the back, really. So, yeah, it's encouraging. Part of me did wonder whether it was a signing in advance of maybe Woot having his head turned, because he did make some grumblings about being in the Euros can help you get a transfer. So I do wonder whether something like that's afoot. But he's a big guy, isn't he? 6'3". Yeah, it's exciting, and he sounds like he's excited to be here and he's ready to go. Let
us just hope that he's not like Yannick Vestergaard, 6'3", but 5'11" when he jumps.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I am not easily bought, but I'm going to say Bobby Decorder is an excellent signing, Brad. There you go. I am very. I'm anybody's for a fiver. Not like you were when you went out that night. Okay.
That was £2, not a fiver.
Yeah, I didn't include tips though. 20. I don't know. I'm just going off what it said on the internet, so I could very much well be wrong. An emerging Italian powerhouse. That's what the Mercury called him. And thank you very much, Brad. By the way, appreciate that, mate. Well done, mate. He says, "You don't know that hurt. That really did stick in my throat." Yeah, the Mercury have said he is an emerging Italian powerhouse. Dual Italian Nigerian citizenship. He's right-footed though. We still haven't got that left foot problem sorted out, have we?
No, but I think I read somewhere that he did play on the left for this previous.
He can play anywhere across the back three, I think.
Yeah, I think they said last year at Frosinone, easy for me to say, he played on the left of the back three, which I know you really struggle with Woot playing there, don't you?
Oh, I can be honest, I struggle with Woot full stop. if he and Brad will know this because I said this the other day on a show with him, if Woot was to leave, I would not be shedding a tear.
No, I understand what you mean. He's been a decent servant though, to be fair, but he's made some errors, and I didn't like he would give a bit of back chat to the fans last year in a game when we were kind of begging for the balls to be passed over to Fatu. When they finally did, like Woot gave it back a bit to the fans, and it wasn't the fans having a go. It was saying, "Look, he is free. Why don't you try it?" Yeah. But yeah, I know what you mean. He's not a fan favourite.
And I think as well, this sort of like, well, the Euros puts us, in the shop window and all that. Well, fuck off then, to put it bluntly. I
didn't see the actual interview, so I'm not sure how it was actually came about. But yeah, you just don't want to hear players saying stuff like that, really, especially because you're in a Premier League team, mate. There's only 20 of them.
Yeah.
So, count yourself lucky that you're not the best. And you are probably going to be in the starting 11 for a Premier League team next year that has really looked after you. And you're still a Belgian international. And, you've done all right for yourself. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying I don't like you. I think Brad's giving some stick today, isn't he, Chris?
Yes, he's really going for me today. I don't know what I've done to upset him, but standing 6'3", the defender adds an aerial threat and physical presence. He is 22, it says here, so you're quite right, Brad, and that hurt even more to say that. He's yet to hit his peak years. So yeah, we have got him at a very good. It's back to Leicester finding them young, not like the OAP that we got from Fulham. This guy is young and keen, and I just hope that he offers that threat, for corners.
Yeah, I mean, we're desperate for that, aren't we? I mean, when I've seen some of the Euro stuff and you've seen some of the replays of some of the goals being played, even free kicks, like we just didn't score enough from set pieces at all. We haven't for a good while, really.
No.
So, we do need that kind of Steve Walsh, Matty Elliott presence of at a corner, don't we? Where they can just be, one in every 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, they're going to nod it in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting. He'll be full of motivation. He's got a point to prove. He's got himself to prove in this league where all the spotlights are going to be on him. And yeah, he's going to have a decent back line to coach him as well. Cody's going to have a bit of an arm around his shoulder, I bet, because he's that type of guy.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's going to be a great signing. Like I say, we don't make that many poor signings, Leicester. I think our recruitment is on the whole very good, and that includes managers. So, hopefully this is another one of those.
And we have got a new set piece coach in the course who's joined, I think, from Norwich. Oh no, Norwich.
Yeah, it was Norwich, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I know we've got a set piece coach. I wasn't sure it was a guy that's come from Forest. There's a guy joined us from Forest as well.
Yeah, but we have,
I think it might be him. I don't know, but look, this guy, he's been at Atlanta since he was 14. So he's. And Atlanta are not a bad side, let's be honest with you. Dennis Pratt went over there and a couple of good seasons and they qualified for Europe. And I think when you're with somebody from 14 upwards, I mean, if you say, well, somebody's been at Chelsea since they were 14, you think, bloody hell, because normally they're only there for a couple of years and then they get shipped out and you never see them again. So I think that's good. But he's done well in his international stage as well. Like I say, we signed him from Atlanta. He's got 2 Italian youth championships. He's got the Italian Super Coppa winner, or Coppa, however you want to pronounce it. Now, they were both with the Atalanta Primavera, which sounds like a shop, really, doesn't it? But he won them again while he was obviously always been at Atlanta. But look at his thing there for the national side. 10 games for the under-19s. Popped up for the under-20s, went straight to the under-21s, 14 games, 1 goal. My worry is, were we not getting this excited about Cassidy?
Yes, I know what you mean. Just because you've done it at that level, it is very different to then do it in a senior league, especially the Premier League. So there is always that risk, and we literally won't know until we see him. So the proof of the pudding and all that. So we'll have to just wait and see. It'll be interesting to see who's been involved in the recruitment for this. Obviously, different management team, but I doubt that the recruitment and the scouts are any different. So we'll just see. I do wonder whether Cassidy was just part of a deal with Enzo a bit, the Italian link, and that's what maybe got him across. And it was a bit of a do us a favour and just get this guy some games, and then we'll have him back and he'll be amazing. And I don't think that kind of worked out with Cassidy because he was not amazing. No. So with this chap, we've bought him as well, which is a difference to Cassidy. And we've obviously took enough of a punt to want to buy him. And I think we can all agree that despite, it doesn't mean we're slagging off Vestergaard or anything like that, but I think we can all agree we do need to improve in that area of the pitch. And that's where we got screwed over last time we were in the league.
Yes. I think everybody knows I'm a bit like Vestergaard and Southgate with both of them, is that I don't think that they are fantastic at what they do, although Vestergaard was, in fairness, at that level, and Southgate is at getting us to finals and semis and what have you. But I just think the criticism sometimes they get is a bit unfair. But I was, even as a Vestergaard fan last season, I was worried about our defence with him in it at Premier League level.
Yeah, and that worry wasn't unfounded, was it? We saw him get absolutely rinsed at Premier League level, and I think that will happen again, to be honest, because like we've said before, no matter how much you train, no matter how much you get guidance, you cannot train pace, and that is his only fallback, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't put hours in on the training pitch to make you faster. It sadly doesn't work like that. So either we buy someone in like him, hopefully, to help accommodate for Vestergaard's presence on the pitch if he's going to be a regular player, or he is a replacement for Vestergaard when we play against teams that push up on our high line are going to catch us out from behind. So it just depends really. It's nice to have options, isn't it? It's nice to have.
It is. And talking about options, we've got a hell of a lot of them at centre back. Because this is who he's up against. Yannick, as we've just mentioned, Harry Souttar, Connor Cody, Ben Nelson, Wout Faes. There's 5 there. He makes 6. Whether we play a 3 or a 5 or even a 2, it'd be even worse. A 4, and then we only got 2 centre backs. That's even worse. I can see a couple of them possibly leaving.
Yeah, same. I love Ben Nelson. I think what I've seen of Ben Nelson, he's got an all-round game to him. But if they're not going to play him this year, they need to loan him out because he needs football. And especially with he's our homegrown player, go and do a Harvey Barnes and set the championship on fire and then come back to us. So I think that guy needs football now. He's at that age. And Souttar, I think he said in the summer, didn't he, if Enzo had have stayed, he'd have probably asked to go. Yes. So he's hopefully relishing a new opportunity under Cooper. And, he's not the paciest, but he's got a good presence on the pitch. He's played a lot of football. He's just a little bit similar to Yannick, but you probably think Yannick edges it. That's the only thing with him. So he's probably more injury.
At least with Harry can actually nod the ball in off from corners, which he does regularly.
Very true. We should try him at 9.
Yeah. Well, Steve Walsh did all right, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. But
I
yeah,
mean,
I wouldn't surprise if Woot is on his way. But if we can get some money from him, that's even better for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like, looking at that, we're stuck with Yannick, love him or hate him, because, you know, that was a present that was left with us from Enzo, thank you very much, a new 3-year deal. I don't get what's wrong with Harry Souttar. I don't think he did anything wrong when he joined us. In fact, I think he was doing all right. It was just sort of Dean Smith kind of put the kibosh on him.
Yeah, he didn't really get a chance, did he? He didn't get a run of games. He didn't put anything wrong. I don't think he's particularly dynamic on the ball. That may be his only weakness, which is why I think Yannick edges it. And when you're in Premier League, you do need to have, you do need to be well equipped on the ball, regardless of pace or anything else. So, but I feel like he's still a young lad, and that can be, nurtured into him a bit. And I feel like he has a place. I do feel like he has a place, and we own him and we're paying him. And yeah. Again, loan him out if you don't want to play him, or sell him.
New manager coming in, like with Yannick. My only worry is that if Yannick doesn't cut the mustard, as somebody said earlier, Cooper's not going to take prisoners, I don't think, because it's we need to get off to a good start. We could see Yannick and we could be paying him nicely for the next 3 years and he not get many more games. But I would like Souttar to be given a chance, to be honest with you. But we've got to have some sort of speed at the back. Cody, I mean, I suppose he would be a bankable asset, but again, I'd be sorry to see him go.
Yeah, I mean, pre-season last year, I thought he looked great, and I think he's a captain in the making, really. Yeah. And his presence in the dressing room is right up there with Vardy and what Casper used to bring a bit. Really, he's probably replaced Wes Morgan in that kind of manner, but he, for whatever reason, Enzo didn't want to play him. I think because Yannick did so well and he didn't want to fix something if it wasn't broken. But I would like to see Connor come in because he is class. He's great on the ball. He's got amazing Premier League experience. But I do just worry about the rustiness of him now. But he needs a really good pre-season. He needs a really good pre-season. Work his socks off. And
I mean, he was there. He was in pole position, but then got injured, wasn't it? Didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did his foot for like 10 weeks or something, didn't he? Yeah, but I can imagine Cooper. Cooper looks for experience.
Yes.
I can imagine Cody being Cooper's type of person.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens there. But I want for him to get more game time because I just feel he's not had a run of it, and he's waited in the wings long enough.
He may, if he doesn't come, he may actually end up asking for a move. But he has got that experience that, if we are looking at Nelson, going forward, and this young lad here, that you need that one experience, the guy that can be there. And no, he doesn't necessarily have to have the speed, but the guy that can organise that back line.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I mean. That's it's not necessarily the skill set of physically being a footballer that you look for with Cody. It's exactly what he brings on the pitch. He's heard it all before. He's been there, bought the t-shirt. You know what I mean? Like Vardy, he'll mess about with the opposition. He'll be in their ear. He'll be in the brains a bit of the players. He'll be in their heads. He's got that kind of shithousery, I think you call it, about him, which you do need. And it doesn't happen when you're young because you're naive and you're a bit intimidated, maybe a bit easier. But he does bring that for me, and he can bring a level head, I think, to a game.
Yeah. And Wout Faes, like you say, I can see him going. And I'm sorry, Wout, but I wouldn't shed a tear if you did. So there we go. Are you surprised we haven't gone back in for Kashadai? I mean, I suppose it was Enzo that liked him, wasn't it? So I suppose Enzo's going to keep him.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think for the money they would probably want and his wages that he would probably want, I think there's going to be better out there. We've had a really good look at him, and Enzo was not convinced. I don't care what he says. He may be under Chelsea's purse strings now, so it's a bit of a different look for Enzo to whether to include him or not. But he didn't play him. He didn't play him unless he absolutely had to, or there was. And I think he had 1 or 2 decent performances, but I don't think he was what we need.
And of course, he the they are still buying like mad, Chelsea. So they must have another hotel somewhere they can sell.
I know, that's what kind of makes me sick about the whole thing. They're on the cusp of breaching the rules, apparently, but then they've just come in and paid 10 million for our manager and 30 million for our best player. So that's what I mean. It's a throw your hands up in the air kind of, and people wonder why Top takes the Premier League to town in legals. Like, it just seems ridiculous.
Yeah, it does. No, totally. Now then, this guy, Wilfred Ndidi. I'm glad he stayed. I really am. Again, he's had experience. I mean, when this contract ends, he'll have been with us 10 years. Wow. Joined us from Ghent. And, he signed a new contract. I was there till June 2027. Your thoughts on the on his signing?
Yeah, I'm really pleased, and I think it's really interesting signing actually, because he obviously didn't want to sign before his contract expired. He probably wanted to see if we were going to get promoted again, and he probably wanted to see what else was out there. And I absolutely don't blame the guy for that. He's been a really good servant for us, and why shouldn't you have a look? Without the binds of a contract, you should be able to look to see if you want to move elsewhere. But deciding to stay, I mean, he's obviously said all the right things, that Leicester is his home, it's his family's home, and they're very happy here. But that's where I think PSR rules have started to come in that I can't honestly imagine many people coming in to better the wage that he was on. And if he did get a rocket of a wage offer, then what club was it from, and will he get game time? I think players are starting to consider the bigger picture now, because let's face it, Leicester don't pay crap. They're not on $5,000 a week anymore. They're all on high fives or six-figure sums, and Wilf will be no different to that. And he's pretty much guaranteed to play if he stays, and it's a Premier League team. And if we get relegated next year, he could well move, but he's got 2 years on his contract, so it would work for us as well. So I think it's a really wise decision. And I'm really pleased because I like Wilf a lot. I hope that Steve can get him back to somewhere near the level that we're used to with him, because he hasn't hit those highs for a couple of years, but he's had some long injuries. So hopefully another good pre-season from him, keep injury free, and hopefully we'll see the old Wilf this year.
Yeah. As Neil says there, though, like having a player for free, and Cooper did want him at Forest, Neil. Quite a good point, that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've re-signed a player with no transfer fee who was probably expected to leave. So yeah, it's a good win all round for us. And again, he's getting to that age. He's in his prime years. He'll be bringing a lot to the dressing room as well. He knows how the club's run. He's been part of a relegation team now, so he knows what it takes to stay up. Yeah, and he's had some really good times with us. So he obviously wants to continue. It'll be different for him because he's not got Nacho, and him and Nacho are very close.
Yes,
and he said now that his best mate in the team is Patson. So it's going to be a different dynamic for him because he's been with Nacho for 5 years. So, but no, I'm pleased that he's stayed because he's a great asset for us.
I will come on to my thoughts on him in a minute. I would have come on to it next because I thought that was my next slide, but it isn't. But what I'll do instead is I'll ask you this. Right. So we're keeping Ndidi. Do we use him as a defensive midfielder, which was what we bought him as, and what he had some very good years with us, or do we persist with him with what Enzo got out of him and turn him into almost like a new signing in a new position with that attacking midfielder? Which way do we go with him?
I don't know.
I was just about to say there. Have you frozen?
Because you've got a few other people to consider there. So you've got Harry Winks, obviously, who's just incredible.
Yes.
And you've got Ricardo, who comes in to do that sort of central position when we're in possession, which can then thread through to Wilfred. I don't think he's great attacking, but he's certainly not what he was defensively either. No. So I think I would probably say that more defensive for me, but out in possession, he could flip his role a bit like Ricardo does.
I think depends on the formation, I suppose, that Cooper goes for. Rumours are if it is a 5, then we may, and I'll come on to sort of Victor Christensen in a bit, then he could be, used sort of maybe in front of that, or going forward. Like you say, like Ben says there, maybe mix it up a bit. It all depends, of course, who we bring in. If we bring in and somebody we've been linked with, and again we'll come on into a second, is an attacking midfielder, so that's an option. And of course, Brad's new love child, Bobby, he can be very much, and is not being used as a winger, can be used as an attacking midfielder. So it could be we all these things. I'm actually beginning to feel a little bit confident.
Yeah, I know what you mean with all of us, because of Enzo, because he did make players move outside of their comfort zone a little bit, which was massively the case for Will. Like, he's given them more strings to their bow, hasn't he? So if we need to call on him defensively, we know he can do that. But similarly, in drier spells of games, or when we're not generating enough chances, or we're 1-0 down with 10 to go or something, like you can ask him to push up and he could potentially do a job. His shooting skills still need some work. I think in the interview I saw, they asked him what his favourite goal for Leicester was, and fair play to him for remembering that he even scored, but he did pull one out.
Bless him.
It's nice to know we've got some options, and we could potentially, it depends how stubborn Cooper is in his formation, but we could potentially just mix it up within a game fairly comfortably.
Yeah, because obviously we've got, if it is a 5 again at the back, then I can see Ricardo dropping back to his right back sort of role. Subham, who is a Chelsea fan, so that means Golding won't start anytime soon. Who knows? Like I say, we've no idea. He could well fit into that role. He's young, but look, we know Cooper isn't afraid of throwing the youngsters in. I've always said, if you're good enough, you're old enough, and we know what he's like with the youngsters. But maybe he'll give him a little bit more time. But now this is where I'm going to come on, and look, I do like Wilf. Let's be honest with you. When we first bought him, a couple of years, Chelsea, Man United, Barcelona, they're all being linked with him. And then he got his injuries, and he was never quite the same. And then there was rumours about, well, are we going to keep him or not? And then suddenly, Enzo turned him into primetime Messi. But what I don't get with these players is, and I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to put it out there and say this. Quote him. Indeed, he says it was an easy decision to commit to Leicester City. I'm sorry, I'm calling that out now. Bullshit. If it was an easy decision to commit to Leicester City, he would have done it before his contract expired. It was an easy decision to commit to Leicester City because nobody else wanted him. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that he hasn't got the right to do that. Like Tielemans, and he was another little shit as well, wasn't he, in the way that he left the club? But that is fine. Then just come out and say, look, I wanted to see what was around there, in fairness, because, you'd offered me a contract a while ago, but I, saw what had happened with the Ori Tielemans. So, but, I'll stay. But to come up and say bullshit like that, if it was an easy decision, he would have done it months ago.
Yeah, I agree. I think it perhaps needed to be caveated to say it was an easy decision to commit to Leicester City now that they're in the Premier League. I think that was probably what he was waiting for. But we don't know the ins and outs, do we? But yeah, I felt the same. Like there was a bit of the interview that I thought was a bit disingenuous and a bit don't take fans for fools. Like, you're not staying here because your family's happy here. That is obviously a deciding factor, but it's not the factor, because they could settle anywhere they wanted to with the money that he'd probably get paid. So I am pleased that we were clearly the best of whatever options he had on the table that he decided. But I don't like the dedication angle, because it's not dedication, because like you said, he'd have signed probably months ago.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, he has got a release clause in his contract.
Okay, interesting. I didn't know that.
Which I don't mind, to be honest with you, because as you know, and I've harped on about it so many times, that's what Harry Maguire did.
Yeah.
So it did mean that we could get, an amount of money. But, if that's part of him saying, look, yeah, I will sign, and forget the, easy decision and all that, but yes, I will sign, but I want a release clause in it, I don't have a problem with that.
No, me neither. Yeah, it's a sensible thing to do, because you've seen these players who don't get played because they're out of favour and then can't leave. And I'm not a big fan of that. You should be able to leave your job if you want to. People leave mid-contracts all the time. If I resign from my job tomorrow, it's in my contract. Like, I'm contracted still at my existing job. Like, you should be free to move if you want. There might be a cost to it, but you should be free to move. So I'm happy to have the release clause in because it suggests that both parties were happy with the figure.
Yeah. Scott says here, and it's a very good point, and good afternoon, Scott. Was it an easy decision to commit to Leicester because they were offering the higher wages, longer contract? I mean, you know, I'm not sure how old Ndidi is, but
27.
27, yeah. So I don't think a 3-year contract is that bad for a 27-year-old, to be honest with you. I think that's quite okay. But I do take your point about the wages, and I think you mentioned this before, Kate, is that his wages at Leicester, like you say, won't be, you know, it'll be on a fair whack. And we would have probably had to offer him the same or as much, or if he had a clause in his contract when we got relegated, put it back up to Premier League. You know, like Scott says, he probably wasn't getting that, and I think you said it, offered anywhere else.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. It's going to be a whole mix of things that you get regular game time, you get a decent wage that really hasn't been bettered by any of the offers, and your family are settled. I think they're going to be 3 things that are coming into play, and you can't blame that. And that is what PSR, that's a good thing about PSR, is that it's making people not jump ship and making wages hopefully a bit more equal across the field, really.
Yeah. Neil says there Cooper is good at changing things in game more than previous managers. Well, he couldn't do a lot worse than bloody Rodgers.
Well, yeah. There's no change. There's the best.
Excuse me. And I've got to say, looks like Schmeichel's going to be joining them at Celtic. So Schmeichel's going to end his career with a few medals by the look of it.
With the guy that hoofed him out.
Yeah, well, yeah. Money talk, money and medals talk, I guess, don't they?
Exactly that.
Schmodic says Ray is the best player for us. If we got him, we go straight to the top of the Prem. I don't think we could afford him. I think there's bigger. If he was going to go, there'd be bigger clubs coming in for him, wouldn't there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, he's a great talent. I don't think he'd even be on our radar. We're not the type of club who are in a position at the moment to go for a guaranteed, already proven, successful, excellent player. I think we're one of these clubs at the moment where we're having to go back to the drawing board, do some homework, and either pick an experienced player like Bobby, who's, you know, seems to have a good experience with Fulham, or someone like Golding, who we hope will turn out to be a gem. That's the kind of market we're in.
Yeah, I think we got, like, if you put Bobby and Golding together, I think we've probably got the best age for a player, but you have to add them together and divide by 2 to get there. We've got either ends of the scale, haven't we? You know.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Yeah.
I just hope that we don't get into the Europa League again, because of course, you know, Bobby won't be able to play in the Europa League because he'll be down the post office every Thursday getting his pension. So you know,
he's 31. There's plenty of time.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that. Apparently Schmodic has gone to 6
Johnny
million.
Evans was old, I think, when we signed Johnny.
Sorry, say that again, sorry.
I think Johnny Evans was that old when we signed him. I think he was 31.
Well, look, yeah, that's not the best example you could have come up with. Really.
Just signed a 1-year contract with Man United. I mean, the sick note lives on.
Well, exactly. It's funny, he's not as sick now, is it? You know.
Yeah. Like the resurrection of Christ.
Georgie says that Schmodic has gone to Ipswich today for 6 million.
Oh.
I haven't seen anything on that at all. And Neil says what's happening to O'Hare on free from Coventry. I've never read anything particularly solid on that one at all. I just think that's just been rumours and agent talk. I haven't, you know, unless you've seen something, I've not seen anything.
No, I've seen a few things that he's clearly being scouted, but nothing to say that we're in the running seriously.
Yes. Ipswich are set to sign 10 million Burnley goalkeeper Muric. And like I said the other day, commiserations to Burnley. You have to give them a minute's silence because, of course, they have taken Scott Parker off everybody else's hands. So they've they've took one for the league, at least. Anna Scott says they're quite right as well. We have a few gems in the academy. Hopefully, they'll be given more opportunities this season. Yes, the Premier League is a tougher league, and I agree with Scott there, Kate. I mean, we've heard so much about Braybrook and Alvis, and
this is the time, man, because they're not going to be they're not kids anymore either.
No.
They're getting into the early 20s, and
Yeah.
this isn't a breakthrough season. We need to get rid of them.
And all this, we don't seem to like, when Rooney got into the Premier League, he was 16, for God's sake. Look at that Yamal for Spain. Yeah. We said, oh no, we can't play them until they're in the 20s. But if we're not going to do that, send them out on loan.
Absolutely, yeah. Get them just get regular competitive games of senior leagues, whether that be League One, Championship, whatever it is. They need football and of a level with men. They shouldn't be playing with boys anymore. We shouldn't be in the under-23s anymore if they're going to be doing a breakthrough. So they need to be playing in the senior league that they're hopefully going to be playing in for us.
Yes.
But yeah, it's kind of, I'm getting a bit bored with it now, the Alves Braybrook thing, if I'm honest. I'm getting a bit bored with it. We either need to see what they're made of, or we just need to sell them.
But put up or shut up, basically.
Yeah, absolutely that. Yeah.
And I think Cooper could be the one to do that, in fairness, because we do know he is good with the youngsters.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope so, because the thing to hear about Alves, I know a few friends who go regularly to Seagrave to see the youth games as well, and they say Alves is just a different class. So, but why aren't they taking a punt on him then? Especially in some of the games that we've had in the Championship this year, where we've been comfortably ahead. So why not give him 15 minutes, or in cup games? I don't know why Enzo didn't do that even when he was fully recovered from his ACL. So he gave him a token gesture of putting him on the bench a couple of times, but we want to see, the fans want to see it, we want to see if he's good enough, get him on.
Exactly. Right. Well, I think we've gone through sort of the ones that people have thrown at us, but I want to talk about this guy. When we signed for him, I thought he was really good. Left winger. Okay, I understand he had every right to say to Enzo, no, I don't want to play on the left of a centre three. He's got every right to do that, and I think it was our loss, really. But the manager has to pick, and this is the problem when you get a new manager comes in. And I've said this with the England manager. Any manager that comes in says, "This is my preferred formation. This is what I want to start with." Unfortunately, you don't fit into this. So there's no point in keeping people just for the sake of it. You know what I mean?
I'm paying them.
Sorry?
And paying them.
And paying them as well, yes. All right, with Christensen, we let him go, so we got some money back, didn't we? From Bologna, was it? I think he went to?
Yeah.
Who wanted him, but then wanted to go back because I think they had a deal that they could have bought him, but they wanted him cheaper. But they're in Europe, but he's come back. If he does play 5 at the back, then that is Christensen's chance, I think. And I think on that position, he could actually be better than James Justin.
I don't know. I love JJ.
I do as well, but
I think JJ has been restricted in how much forward he can go. He didn't really burst forward like we like to see, because he is really quick. And I think that JJ is better defensively. I think when I last saw Christensen play, he had naivety defensively, but he did love to burst forward and be an extra man going forward, which I absolutely loved. And he had the absolute attitude and aura about him that fans just love. That Aston Villa game, I don't think you could believe, that how amazing game he had, hugging his mum in the crowd and all of that. Like, he's exactly what the fans want to see. He's got his heart on his sleeve. But yeah, if he's doing a back 5, he is absolutely level pegging really with JJ. Like, it depends what the opposition is and what the tactics are for the game involved. But I could definitely see them sharing it. But yeah, he's done incredibly well with Bologna. I mean, they're in the Champions League this year. It's incredible for them. So he's had a great season. I think he scored or assisted on his debut. And by all accounts, he had a great season with them. So yeah, I really liked him as soon as he joined us, because he just had that excellent attitude that all fans want to see. So it's just how Cooper would want to use that, or if he can use that
Yes. Now this is interesting because you see, everybody's got different opinions, but I was going to say Scott's just made a very good point here. Christensen is great going forward, but defensively he used to worry me. And then
same.
Ben follows that up with, I like JJ, but Victor seems a bit better at defending more.
Welcome to the world of football opinions.
It is. Nobody is right. Nobody is wrong. You know what I mean? It's just about opinions. I like Christensen, and I'm thinking if, let's say, for example, Ricardo is used more as a midfielder, and I think Ricardo can play further up on the right. If
He's apart from Vardy, I think he's our only other world-class player now.
Yeah.
Sorry, with Winks. Sorry, I think Winks is up there as well. Yeah, he's just brilliant.
Push Ricardo further forward. And let's say, for example, JJ can move over to the right and play on that right side, and then Victor on the left. And I think that's a great option. And I just think the more players you've got that can cover different positions.
Yeah, absolutely. We know what Ricardo can do going forward. He's great running with the ball. He's got an absolute rocket shot on him as well. I'd love to see more of that because he has got more goals in his locker, and we didn't see enough of that last year because he was doing a very important role, which sidetracked the goals a bit. But we know he's got speed and agility, and him and Winks together. I think now that KDH is gone, you just wonder whether that might be an idea they're going to use.
Very possibly, or one of the options anyway. And I don't think Thomas is going to come back. Because I think if you're going to keep one, I think it would be Christensen over Thomas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Thomas has had his say and go at it, and sadly I think he falls short. I think with Sheffield United last year he fell short again, and don't get me wrong, when he came in we were on the bare bones, weren't we? And he did an amazing job in the short term, but I think he got found out quite quickly, and I just don't think he's physical enough because of his frame for that. The threat of the right winger against him in the Premier League is just different. But I like Luke Thomas. He's a dedicated individual to us, and he's a Leicester boy. And I don't want to see him just sat on the sidelines because I don't like to see that of players either. So I think it's probably time, if we can get some money for him, then it's probably time to do so.
There's some confusion with Thomas over when his contract is up. Because apparently there was some of saying like he's got a year or it's I'm just going to have a look here. Luke Thomas, when is his contract up? Well, it says here the 30th of June 2024. But
I thought it was next year.
Well, this is where the confusion is. I'm not sure. Do you know what I mean? And you can't trust the internet, can you? So I can't say. But there is that confusion. So I suppose if we are going to sell him now and get some money for him. But if he's gone, he's gone. The interesting thing is that if you go on to LCFC.com and go on to their teams and go on to the men's team, the new players have got a blog up. So they've got, the square, no pictures yet, because obviously they're going to take it with the new strip. But there isn't one for Christensen.
Oh. Okay. Maybe it's still in discussion then.
Well, interesting, isn't it? That he's not. And I've just had a thought.
Is there one for Thomas?
No, there isn't one for Thomas. And I'll tell you who. I'm just going to have a look and see if there is one for. Let me.
Ronaldo.
Hey, don't now.
Is Jamal signed for us?
Ronaldo gave me my happiest moment of the Euros so far when he broke down in tears after missing that penalty. It couldn't have happened to a nicer man. What did they say? Revenge is a dish best served cold. Winking at you. But then again, I thought that about Koeman with Holland. Do you remember when he?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Moaned about the penalty, and it's like, hang on a minute, mate.
Exactly. I'm just going to have a look and just see, because most of the people we think we got in midfield, they're actually listed as strikers. Fatawu is still up there.
Let's face it, none of us know.
No, none of us know. But yeah, Fatawu is still up there.
Well, he is signed, isn't he? He is signing.
Well, has he?
I think I've heard through the grapevine it's stuck in admin.
Well,
Because he's announced himself that he's at Leicester.
Well, there's pictures of him being taken at Leicester, and I did speak to Rob Tanner, bless him, and he said he hasn't heard anything to say there's a problem. They couldn't do it before the end of June because of PSR, PPI, whichever. And he said, it was just a case of, it will happen,
Yeah, I think that is it.
Yeah. They would still announce it, though, Neil, even if he was waiting for a work permit, because all those, Ndidi, it says even for Ndidi, has re-signed subject to Premier League approval. So everything has to, on that. Craig is in. Hi, Craig. Hope you're well. Watching from holiday in Skiathos.
It's all right.
I'd raise a beer to you, but I haven't got any at the moment. I need to go out. I drunk them all the other night watching England. Scott asks, Chowdhury and Samari this season. I've forgotten about those two, to be honest with you.
Well, I've not forgotten about Chowdhury, but Samari was easily forgotten, wasn't he? I mean, there's a player in there somewhere. I think it just needs a magic code to get it out. That's all. And it's whether you can crack the code.
But do you think I like Samari? I've got to be honest with you. The one game I saw him live was the Community Shield or Charity Shield. Showing my age there. Community Shield. He was really good, but then Man City had put out a team of teenagers. So whether you read much into that. And I think when Rodgers signed him, he wanted to make him into a box-to-box midfielder. Well, if you want a box-to-box midfielder, buy a box-to-box midfielder.
Yeah, or just look in the academy, mate. And there's a guy called KDH was waiting there. Yes,
exactly. But I like Samari, and I'd like to think again. He's on our wage bill. For me, I tell you what he does offer us, and Chowdhury as well. And I liked Chowdhury last season. Everybody's right back. All right, he worried me a little bit. I don't know about you, but right back. But he, in that defensive midfielder role, if we were trying to hold on, he wasn't afraid to put the boot in. And Samari's got that physical presence as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, Samari's a very physical. He's a more physical Ndidi, isn't he? He's got the shape and size, and he can cover the ground like Ndidi can in that way. And he's got legs for days as well that can tackle people. But he's quicker than Wilf. I just felt like there wasn't the tenacity about him, and I think Brendan said, didn't he, had some time out for some personal issues. So that's what I mean. I feel like there's a player in there, and I like him. But I don't think we've cracked the code. And if we can't crack the code, I feel he's a bit of a handicap, if I'm honest, from my point of view. But Hamza I get scared sometimes with Hamza. But at the same time, he's got so much heart and grit, and he's the hard boy of the team, which I absolutely love. And at times last year, he absolutely did a job and was superb. But he was given too much responsibility sometimes. He was even asked to cover Wink's role a few occasions last year, and he couldn't have been more day and night between the two of those guys. He's got not got the awareness to be the last man on the back.
Yes, yeah. I want to say 3 words to you about Chowdhury. West Bromwich Albion.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad he signed he re-signed a new contract. Like I say, if we're 1-0 up and we are trying to hold on to a lead and we are being battered, and you see him coming on, I'm like, yeah, get in there, Hamza. But
as long as he's not in a really far back position, if he's coming. And to be honest, he played a bit more forward. I think he even did KDH's role occasionally in some cup games, and he was phenomenal. I actually don't think he's too bad going forward on the front foot because he can't do any damage.
What we need with Hamza is, like with goal line technology, so that, when Cooper sat there, if he goes too far back, a thing vibrates on his wrist. He's going, Hamza, get back up.
But give Hamza his dues. He's probably what you would call a low maintenance player. Like, he's really happy to play for us. He's probably on an average wage for the squad. He's happy to be a squad player as well. He knows his place, and those people are hard come by, I would imagine, as well. So he does have his place for sure.
He does. Like you say, a utility squad player, really. Ray said Samari seemed intimidated by the physicality of the Prem. But do we expect players that come in to literally, and I know Fatawu did, don't get me wrong, and Mavididi did, but he'd been at Arsenal. Do we expect players to come in and just, take, I mean, it is the different leagues they're coming from, aren't they?
Yeah, there's always an adaptation process. And I think some players adapt and some people don't. I don't know if you remember Morientes for Liverpool. He never adapted. He came over as this super striker and he never adapted and he just couldn't get on. He just couldn't get on with Liverpool up top. He just wasn't anywhere near the heights of what we're used to from seeing from him. And I think the same with Samare. I feel like, that whoever it was, Neil there said a good point in that he didn't seem to deal with the physicality of the Prem. But for me, you don't expect him to do it straight away. But I feel like there was no improvement. I felt like every time I saw him, it felt like his first game all the time.
Yeah.
And whether that was because of personal issues off the pitch, I think there was rumours he might have been a bit homesick. He may have had some outside issues, which makes it really hard. But he just didn't.
But I always quote the story with Kevin Keegan going from Scunthorpe to Liverpool. It was 6 months before he even smelt anywhere near the first team. But we buy players these days, put them on. And some of them, Fafana was the same, and Fatawu, they just take to it like ducks to water. But you can't expect that with every player.
And to be fair to Samari as well, when we used him and when we needed him and drew on him, he was coming into a very dysfunctional team at that point.
Yes. Yeah,
which isn't great when you're a youngster. He was a youngster, wasn't he? And it was all over the place. The morale was low. People didn't really know what the jobs they were doing. So he didn't have any guidance, I imagine. But his famous
including the seal, he didn't know what job he was doing either.
This man manager that we'd heard about kind of disappeared, didn't it?
Yes, yeah. And let me move on to this now, gentlemen, before we get to the shirts. This is somebody that we have been linked with. And I'm not sure whether we can afford him. 21 to 25 million. 21-year-old Mateus Soule, or Soul, however you want to pronounce it. Actually, he's a 21-year-old. He's a right winger, and you think, well, look, we've got Bobby in that position. We've got obviously, Abdul in that position, but he can also play as an attacking midfielder and a second striker. He's at Juve. Last season, and this is the interesting thing, last season he was at, and I can't remember which Italian team it was, but he was there with Caleb Okoli. They were teammates together in the same team that got relegated. But they want 21 to 25 million for him, depending which report you read. And apparently it's down to two teams, allegedly now, according to the press today. If he wants to come to the Premier League, Leicester apparently were front runners, but Roma have also come in for him. And got a new manager at Juventus that wants to keep him because the old manager, obviously, who's gone, isn't. But the new manager's come in. He likes the cut of his jib. We've really got to make sure we're on top of PSR if we're spending that much money, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And we need to make sure that he's actually half decent because, we blew 28 million on, what's his name? Salami.
There's so many.
What's his name? The Algerian striker.
Slimani,
Slimani, that's it. I actually said Salami. I couldn't, that's
you did. And I was going to pick you up on it. I'm too nice, but
But I think Roma are definitely interested. So, God, the Premier League is quite the seduction, though, isn't it?
It is, and I suppose Roma's a big club. I know Jose's gone, but I think they qualified for Europe again this season. Not 100%. Yeah. But it's struggling money-wise, the Italian league, and we in the Premier League can offer better wages than they can. So that might not be too much of a trouble. But I just wonder, like I say, we're not shopping in that sort of market at the moment, are we?
No, I don't think we are, but I don't know. We do seem to spend this kind of money once in a blue moon, like we did it with Yuri. We did it with Slimani. We do spend that money sometimes if we feel like it's going to be worthwhile, and we can even make a buck in a few years' time. So I think Okoli will be asked chapter and verse about this chap.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see what's happening with Roma. I mean, if they're really, really desperate for him, that might be an indication that, you know what, he is half decent, because I've just seen they qualified for Europa League.
Okay.
So they were sixth last year behind Bologna. They finished outside, but so Bologna nicked their spot really. So yeah, I trust the recruitment process with us, because we have done well in most of the times that we've signed. Vestergaard and Bertrand excluded, but I don't think there'd have been much scouting with them, because you would just have assumed they'd have been all right at the time. But I mean, I've heard that he's one of his main roles is number 10, which I think most teams are crying out for that. So that would be great if we could get a proper number 10 in. And if we're going to go with this one up top all the time, which I presume we will do, because most Premier League teams do now. So that would be really exciting. Just have that creativity, which we've not really been able to replace since Maddison left.
No. According to La Gazzetta dello Sport,
Are you Italian?
Yeah, you didn't know this, did you? I can speak
One's two, Rodney. One's two.
You beat me to it. I tell you what, though, Monge 2, it was such a better film than Monge 1. Sorry.
Shocking.
I'll give up. I'll go home. But according to La Gazzetta dello Sport, Juventus talent Mattias Sola, however you want to pronounce it, is opening to join in Leicester City. But they are yet to accept an offer from the Foxes. He's Argentinian. He's informed Leicester City that he's open to a move to the King Power Stadium. A fresh report from Saturday's printed edition of La Gazzetta dello Sport on page 9 claims that the 21-year-old is ready to sign a contract worth 2.5 million to 3 million euros a season. So, yeah, we will wait and see. We will wait and see. And Scott just says here, the difference between Slimani was not a Martin Glover signing. And let's be honest, Martin Glover, over the course of his time with us, has produced some decent players. Nice to see somebody that's got a bit of sense and isn't putting everything on Rudkin's head. And Neil says swap for Daka. Oh yeah, we wish. Somebody's asking about Daka. I don't think he's going to cut it in the Premier League. I think we've got to try and cut our losses with him.
We just need to cut, full stop.
Oh, you vicious woman, you.
I mean, I love him. I think he looks such a nice boy, doesn't he? He looks such a nice boy. And he does, and there's probably nobody more than him that wants to succeed and get off onto some kind of rhythm with us. And who knows? You don't know what goes on. But he's the chances that he missed last year will live long in my memory. And there were heart in mouth moments that he missed. So, but just going back to this Sule chap, I think if we do want to pay that kind of money, then we just need to think really carefully about how we would structure a contract for an onward sale and a release clause, etc. Like if you want to shell out early doors, you need to make sure that you've protected yourself to recoup some of that of an eventual sale if he turns out to be a superstar.
Yes. Or we just say, we'll put it into his contract. Yep, you can sign for Chelsea in 3 years for 80 million.
Yeah, absolutely. On an 18-year contract, and see you soon.
Exactly. Right. Moving onwards and upwards. If I can just find the one, there we go. This has caused a bit of a stink.
Yes.
BC.game. So 2-year contract, because in 2 years' time nobody will be able to use sporting companies, betting companies on their shirts as sponsors.
Yeah.
We might have to all end up with Johnny Cash on the front of hell. Oh, she's not a poser, anybody. She's really not.
Walk the line.
Yes.
Ring of fire, more like Leicester City. Bloody hell.
I was just about to say, get your Johnnies out for the lads, but that is wrong, isn't it?
You're always wrong.
I'm always wrong. I know. No.
Right up.
But thank you. But look, 40 million allegedly over 2 years. You can't turn that down, can you? And everybody that's saying like, oh, we should be having this on. It's not on the youth shirts. So if you're under 14, you do not have that. You cannot get a shirt with that on. And I think if you want to pay an extra tenner for the adult shirt, you can have it without it on as well. Now, I don't care. You could put Durex, Viagra, whoever you want on the front of that shirt.
I knew it would come back to your shopping list, Chris.
How did you know? How did you know? You can't have one without the other. Let me tell you that. It's like love and marriage, But I'm not going to turn down 40 million over 2 years. That would pay for Sule, and we need that money to help us with the likes of PSI and PPR, and it means that King Power can spend the money that they would have spent sponsoring us on other things.
Yeah, I mean, I understand there's a lot of discussion about the ethical side of this, and I've seen that lovely lady Annie Ashton, is it, who lost her husband Luke, one of a Leicester fan who sadly passed away through gambling addiction. So I understand where people sit ethically on it, but I think sometimes you have to make a business decision, and I think with all sponsors and with all football clubs, there's always that what you call ESG, so environmental, social or governance factors that come into your decision. And there's barely any companies that are 100% foolproof on ESG. There's always immorals, there's always unethical, there's always governance issues in most companies because they're out to make a profit at the end of the day. And I think when you're making a business decision, you have to think that Top wouldn't have wanted to ever remove King Power from the front of his own football club shirt. But why has he done it? Because it's the best interest for the club and they need the money in. And it's a record-breaking amount of money in the 2 years that we've got that we're able to use this kind of sponsorship. And I think there probably would have been some green, what you call green companies that perhaps would have been more ethical to have on the front of the kit, but they don't pay the bills. No. And if it's a bit of a you can't beat them, join them thing for me. And I'm not always in agreement with that way of life, but sometimes you just have to. And to survive in the Premier League, as we know, we're already under scrutiny and we're not in a position to turn down that amount of money. And it's just how it goes. The Premier League isn't there to be fully ethical. And whilst I understand it could be quite triggering for people that have had gambling problems, similarly why they took B&H off the snooker championships in the past, that can't be always considered every time in some business decisions. And I think we've all probably had a flutter and a gamble on stuff in the past. And it's a business decision, and sometimes business stinks. And that's just the end of the argument for me, really.
And I do have to actually caveat this with when the fun stop. Get to gambleaware.co.uk, I believe it is, or gambleaware.org. If you do have any sort of betting problems, money isn't the answer. I have to legally say that. I got told off once by the Gamble Aware for not doing. And I understand, because of course Peter Shilton, who we all sort of know and love as an ex-player, gambling nearly ruined him. You could say that it did ruin him, and
Willie Thorne, another Leicester lad.
Yes, yeah, but it has to be business decisions at this stage, like you said, look at snooker, Embassy, Benson and Hedges, they were all sponsoring snooker. And then you say, well, hang on a second. So you don't get these people that were going to pay the money, and then you'll be moaning that we can't afford to pay players' wages.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Player? Well, we can't afford him. Why not? We haven't got a decent sponsor, that's paying us. Look at Formula One. I don't know if you follow Formula One. Jordan Racing used to be with the yellow cars, used to have Benson and Hedges.
Yeah.
Marlboro McLaren. That was the name of the bloody team.
Silk used to be on the back of most magazines, didn't it?
Yeah.
Purple Silk Cut, yeah.
And
so
that used to be my cigarette of choice. I thought I was being good, Rob. It was the lowest time. Yeah.
My view is if you're a company that isn't breaking the law, and you're making money, then why shouldn't you be able to advertise your product? And that's my view. It doesn't at all take away any sympathy or pain that people have suffered from gambling addiction at all. But I think we have to separate those two things sometimes. It doesn't mean we necessarily agree with how maybe BC Game go about their business. But, you know, I think we can all say we would have had a flutter over the years, and it's a business decision. And sometimes you've just got to suck it up and accept it. And it's just the nature of the sport, isn't it? It's the nature of the game, and it pays to keep our club going, and it's an amazing deal. That's a lot of money for us.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel this season, and look, everybody's got their own opinions. That is football. The club is taking a hell of a battering off fan groups at the moment. You know, with the increase in ticket prices, the £25 increase for if you want a card rather than a mobile code thing. A physical card. It's easy to forget how good they've been over the years. I mean, you know, who did we have before when we were last in the Premier League that everybody had? We had that sponsor that everybody hated. FBS. And of course, as soon as we dropped out, we had to let them go because they wouldn't sponsor us in the Championship. They wanted the Premier League. And then King Power had to come in because nobody else would come in for us. So we beggars can't be choosers. We have to accept the position we're in now. We're not going to get Qatar Airlines coming to us. You know, we're not a Man City or Chelsea. You know, we're not the club that we were last time we were in the Premier League, and we've got to kind of accept that.
Yeah, we've just got to rebuild, haven't we? It's a rebuilding process. This is a short-term 2-year sponsorship, which is going to see us home, hopefully, for PSR as well. We've had some really good incomings since the end of June already. And it's just part of the game. Not every football's ugly. We know that. Football is ugly, and it's got so much money flowing through it. Nobody really knows which way's up. And that's just what happens. And I think, what's his name down the bottom? You've just pulled his... Scott. I think Scott's just said some comments there. Like, King Power would have absolutely wanted to sponsor his own shirt. Why wouldn't you want to sponsor your own football club? But when it's a connected sponsorship, which it will be, market value has to be paid. But and market value would be valued by a professional. So, but when it's an unconnected party like this guy, the BC Game, then they pay what they pay. If they're willing to pay 40 million and the King Power market value is only 13 or something, then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Of course, Top doesn't want to remove his own company from his own football club, but you just have to swallow it sometimes and do it. And I think there may need to be some communication about that, which hopefully there will be, about gambling and making sure that Leicester, whilst it has a gambling sponsorship, I think we should go over the top of it to make sure people gamble responsibly. We have those big signs everywhere, you know, when the fun stops, stop, and all of that. I think that might placate some of the feelings about it, because at the end of the day, BC Game is a gambling company. It's a legal gambling company, and they can't home all the responsibility for addiction, if you know what I mean. Like, it has to be, they're a corporate entity.
And you know, yes, and look, you know, we do live in a world, I think, where sometimes we forget that people have to take responsibility for their own actions. And yes,
and I think one of the
I have a very addictive personality. It took me nearly 25 years to give up smoking. In fact, I did it every morning, you know, for like 30 minutes till I got to the bus stop. You know, I was smoking behind my wife's back, and I hated her because she was one of these that could go out on a Saturday night, have a fag, and then not have another one till next Saturday night. If I had one, so I do know what having an addictive nature is like. But I put a bet on the other day on England winning within 90 minutes. Or within the 90, you know, within the main match, and I won because obviously England beat Holland. But I didn't bet more than I'd got in the account, and I could have done, because you get a bit of a, you know, overdraft, if you like. I didn't even bet my maximum, so I knew that if I lost, that I'd still have money there. It is all about the individual's responsibility, and we seem to forget that these days, don't we? But
we do, and I think there's more safety measures being put in on these apps. The problem is the apps, isn't it? We digress from the issue a bit, but the problem is the apps, because they constantly nudge you, don't they, to make you add more money. And the regulation around that,
notifications.
the regulation around that needs looking at, and people bet a lot of money. So when they lose a lot of money, they want to win it back. And I know from watching that Paul Merson documentary, 70 or 80% of gambling customers are what they classify as win backs, because they're logging back on to win back what they've lost. And that's something that needs to be visited as well. If there's a vulnerability there, or there's too many transactions, the betting company should take action. The individual's got a problem, and they need help. They need help from themselves. So, but there's also, I think a guy I know, we were talking about it on a big WhatsApp group, and one of the chaps had said that King Power sell alcohol at the ground, and people have died from alcohol addiction. So, how far do you go with it?
Yes, no, exactly. We're all happy to take the free beer, aren't we, when it's offered?
Yeah, and everybody has.
And what about when they offer the free cakes on his birthday of all those that suffer with obesity
and diabetes or whatever? Yeah, how far do you take it? But I understand it being a bit of a not really keen on that type of sponsorship. I understand that point of view, but ultimately, we're in football. Football's not a clean sport like that at all. It's not ethical. We're not in it for ethics. No. I mean, look at bloody VAR for starters. On the pitch, it's not ethical. Bloody hell. No. So it's a 2-year easy bit of money for us. And hopefully, once the other sponsorships start to come through, the non-gambling ones in the next couple of years, then we can start to work together as a club and a sport to make it a bit more ethical.
I think we'll see a few blank shirts at the start of the season in a couple of years. I think
you're going to be allowed it on your sleeves, though, I think.
Oh, are you? Right.
But just not on the main front. But I think King Power's still sponsoring the training gear, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I think
so. He's doing his best to keep the King Power name, as you bloody would want to.
Well, it's still the King Power Stadium. That's going to get mentioned every time. I'm going to say, well done to Scott, 12 months. I think I've done about...
well done, yeah.
I've been a bit longer, but I'm a bit older than Scott, so I remember that. But well done, Scott. I can remember saying that I would give up smoking when it became a pound for 20. How long ago was that? Jesus.
1978.
Yeah, probably. No, I'd only started smoking in 77, I'm going to end on this one because we're coming up to the 1.5 hours. But I want to just ask on this. Are we becoming too, and I referred to Union FS earlier, and I'm a great supporter of Union FS. I will share anything that they do. I donate. I think they are. What they do is amazing. But that, and like the Foxes Trust, is another one. Are we becoming too sort of? Well, the club haven't discussed this with us. Well, why should they?
I feel a little bit like that. Yeah, that's exactly the feeling that I'm getting. The £25 thing is still rumbling on. And I think I've seen their latest publication that they're going to be asking the club about the donation that's being made to the Vishai Foundation, and how that money is going to be used within the foundation. That's two separate things to me. The Vishai Foundation is not Leicester City Football Club. They don't have to justify how they spend their money because they've never been caught to be misspending money. No. So you wouldn't, if the Leicester City donated to Loros, what are Union FS going to do? Ask Loros how they spend their money. Like it needs to be separated. Yes. And I do think, don't get me wrong, the £25 thing, the communication was absolutely shocking and amateurish at best. But we kind of need to move on from it, because if that was factored into the price of my season ticket, I don't think there'd be anywhere near as much noise, because it's 25 quid. And for whatever reason, whether you believe their reasoning or not, they're bringing it in for whatever reason they say. But yeah, I do think we've just got to be careful, because some of the releases I've seen, it's getting aggressive.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't think that represents the majority of the fan base, in my opinion. I think most people accept that the club have money to make. I think, although it's a working class sport historically in terms of the type of people that go and are interested in football, the Premier League is a luxury elite item. So if anybody's got the wolf at the door bill-wise, that's probably the first thing that gets knocked on the head is your season ticket, or I won't go to the football that week, because the prices are extortionate across the board of 20 clubs. So why shouldn't we be able to charge on par with what other clubs charge? So I don't like that nature of it. And I feel like sometimes it's without substance and without comparison to what else is going on in the Premier League with other clubs. Like the price of the kit's 70 quid, which is a hell of a lot of money. But I think Fulham's is 80, Wolves is 80. Palace is 65, I think. Ipswich's is 55. So we're kind of middle pegging. And why shouldn't we? We're in the same market. Why should we not charge the same price?
Yes, and we've also got, I mean, you know, how far do we go back? Football's a changing thing. I can remember when we had the same kit for 3 years once. You know what I mean? It was, and then, of course, we had the Second World War, but you know, it was, well, but, you know, the club does not have to impart any of this information to us, you know, and, you know, we're going to get to the point where they're just going to turn around and say, go away.
Which is why I feel like a more placated, less aggressive approach about the £25 issue seems to be the hot one at the moment, but a more, well, what you've said here doesn't quite make sense. Like, you want to be paperless, but you do clappers every week, or you know what I mean? There's some inconsistencies for sure that need to be, if you want to explore, then explore it, but you've got to be respectful. And I feel like they've given us a lot, this football club. They've given us a lot, and we pay for it. Don't get me wrong, we do pay for it. But if you want Premier League football, that's just what happens.
No, 100%, definitely 100%. Look, Kate, thank you so much. It's nice to have you back. Give us a yeehaw before you go.
Yeehaw, y'all.
And that one's going to get clipped. Anyway,
that was so bad. Not exactly Dolly Parton, is it?
I'm saying nothing. You don't drag me down that road. I was watching Dolly Parton last night.
Were you?
She didn't know. Yeah, she didn't know, but I was watching her. No, she was on. I think it was BBC 4 or one of the. It was when she was on at Glastonbury.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And then towards the end, she did start going on about Jesus Christ and believe. And I was like, oh no, she's lost me now. She's lost me now.
Yeah, it's a very religious Christian part of the world down in Nashville for sure. Tennessee is a very Christian, very Christian state.
We must all honor the Trump. That's the thing.
Brilliant.
You're saying nothing, are you?
Not saying anything. I mean, but what's he got to go up against? What's he going up against?
Who knows? In fact, he doesn't know Biden, does he? He doesn't know.
No, I know that's the thing. If they're the best two that America have got, they're in a whole world of trouble.
And we laughed at Corbyn and Boris.
Yeah. I know, we look all right, don't we? I mean, what's going on in Europe is pretty unsettling. What's going on in America is quite worrying, and we actually look the most settled out of the lot of them at the minute.
We do. It won't last, but we do. Kate, how can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at KateBlakey40, so give me a follow on there.
Yes. Thank you so very much for joining us. I will see you. We're probably not going to be doing, there's going to be like these extra shows, but I don't think we'll be doing a regular Let's Talk Leicester Monday nights or Wednesday nights for a while until the season gets into swing.
You just wanted to keep me and Dave apart from each other a bit longer, didn't you? Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Dave is not available. He was asked. But he's not he's been a very busy boy this week. He's been a very busy boy. He is going to feel a little bit left out though now, you know, because of the old yes, both of us are slashing, and but Dave we'll have to not let him feel left out, you know.
Yeah, we'll welcome him back with open arms. Don't worry.
Yes. Ben says, thanks, Chris and Kate. And if you want to go to a religious country, travel to Knock in Ireland. Do you know what? The jokes are good there, aren't they? Anyway, thank you very much, Kate. And have a good rest of the weekend. Hey, fingers crossed for tomorrow night.
Yes, fingers crossed. See you later.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, thanks to Kate there. Good to have her back. That was it. That was a bit of a catch-up show, if anything. We did cover quite a few topics there. I can't say when I'll be back. And no, I'm not doing a watch-along for the final because I'm going to watch it with my mates and just have a good time and enjoy myself. And fingers crossed that we'll be celebrating a win. We'll be back We're going to be doing a prediction show soon. There will be a show coming up about the new prediction league that we're going to be doing along with Brad, same as last season, but you're going to have to re-register for this one. Details about that will be coming up soon, and we will be doing a league prediction show as well. Thanks very much to everybody that's been in the chat, and thank you all very much for joining us. We will be back, like I say, who knows when. Keep a lookout. Why not subscribe? Because if you subscribe, you can then click the notification bell, and then you'll always be notified when we go live. Thank you to everybody that's been listening via your favourite podcast platform as well, including YouTube podcasts. I will see you soon. Take care. I'm feeling confident about this season now. That's the kiss of death.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.